and welcome to another episode of The Ins and Outs of Work. My name's Joe, aka the HR Outsider.
And my name is Neelie, aka the HR Insider. And today is a big day for the Ins and Outs of Work podcast because this is our very first in-person interview here in the studio, Joe.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
To all be together.
Yes. To be together in person. I hope this is the start of a new era. And we are here with Hugo Manoukian, and he is the CEO of MoovOne. Hi, Hugo.
Hi, Neelie. Hi, Joe. Thanks for having me.
Hi, Hugo. Great to have you here. We are talking today, Neelie and Hugo, about upskilling and reskilling with sort of this look into 2022, planning towards it. Hugo, you're a great person to talk to this subject because you are CEO at a company called MoovOne. Can you tell us more about MoovOne?
Sure. This it's a company providing a digital coaching solution. So we are one of the leading company in this field. Really exciting moment right now. And what we are providing the largest European company with is a solution, a technology first, enabling to design and enable coaching programs for their leaders, talents, managers, and any employee even, in order to help them unleash their potential in a changing environment.
Nice. We're going to be talking about that a little bit later on in this conversation again. First though, let's take a step back. When we talk about upskilling for the future, upskilling the workforce for the future, what are the first things that come to mind then?
First thing is it's a challenge. So no, honestly, this is an amazing opportunity to change the way people are learning, developing themselves, also, and growing as a person and as a professional. So really, for 2022, what we will look is a real change, a real evolution. We're going to speak about that, I guess, later, but definitely there is something new coming. And with the pandemic, all what we've been through, it has reshaped, I think, the way the HR and also the whole general management has seen the importance of reskilling and having a really ready for the future workforce.
And so, Hugo, you speak with a lot of different companies. You mentioned it in the introduction a little bit, and a lot of large organizations. What have you seen so far that their priorities are when it comes to reskilling?
Yeah, that's right. We are lucky enough to have at least 2/3 of the CAC 40 in France and more, where we are building a real relationship with them. And what they told us is, first, what they want is having an immediate, easygoing process, or let's say experience. And what I think is really important is, previously people were thinking of, I need full offering, and then people will pick up whatever they want. Now, time has changed, and now what they want is a course, let's say a process, a step-by-step process, something more engaging the participants. Because later on, I'll be honest, a lot of people didn't really go to the resources that were available. We all have Google for that sometimes. So it's how do you create this willingness, this really, let's say, people need to be a bit starving to learn, and really willing to learn. And then for that, you need to build a step-by-step course, which is individual, dedicated to each individual looking for growing opportunities.
I guess what I'm hearing on that, Hugo, is that people need to be guided through this learning program, right? And I'm wondering almost if, like, do you see any connection to that? Like, I mean, today in our lives, we're so used to being entertained and we have to be stimulated. Is that something that comes into this whole learning thing as well?
Definitely. And in the past, we thought it was just, look at those great pastries or whatever. Just pick which one you want. But when you're not hungry, there is no point. Right. So it's how do we create this and this willingness? And again, I believe, and I have a thing around that, and it's not myself, it's really the coaching community and the coaching mindset, which is there. It's awareness is the starting point. Right. And so if you do not create the awareness on the personal and organizational level of what needs to be done, how would we move forward, there will be no moves, or it will be complicated and you will have to waste energy and time and money into driving people to do what you want. Right. So
this really reminds me, Joe, about of an episode that we had in the first season of The Ins and Outs of Work. Remember when we talked with Özlem Sarayoglu about the importance of creating this learning and coaching culture within the company if you really want your upskilling efforts to succeed, that was a key ingredient for success.
So true. So true. This is awesome already, Hugo. Thank you so much for these great insights. One thing we hear a lot, Neelie, is the sense that we, a few people saying we're in a reskilling revolution. And I think it comes back, I don't want to keep talking about COVID all the time, but we're still sort of in it. And the sense that maybe COVID has accelerated a lot of things, given businesses a sense that there is this need to reskill and help their people get reskilled. I mean, the question is, would you agree that there is a reskill revolution going on right now?
Yes, and I will complete that by saying that there is one author that I really like is John Kotter. He's an American, let's say, researcher in psychology and social organizations. And what he said is, if you don't have this urgency to move and to change, you're not changing. So he said there are 8 steps of change, and the first one is urgency. So what does COVID has changed is this, the sense of urgency. We need to move now. If we don't, we're gonna have trouble or being at risk. A lot of companies are already at risk for external reason, but now it's more internally. Within my workforce, all the people that I have into this company, how do I make them flourish and give the best of themselves and be thriving also? Because as we have learned in COVID, is it's not only a matter of for sure the skills, and we're going to come back to that, are important and are key, but it's also the mental health, the well-being, the willingness to thrive at work and to be just giving the maximum potential that we have, and this is sometimes a bit hidden into the HR strategy.
Yeah, I think so too. That's very true what you're saying. You mentioned it briefly. You used the word skills, of course, and we are going to talk about skills today. Starting with, what do you feel, Hugo, is the balance between hard skills and soft skills in terms of what needs to be developed?
First of all, I don't like to oppose the two. Oftenly we say, is it more these or more of these? Honestly, we are a mix, all three together around the table. We do use hard and soft skills in a meaningful manner and something bringing efficiency. So, but for sure, what I also want is to say, hard skills are not outdue or overpassed. It's not finished. It's not the end. And for sure, we need to learn things, how things are doing. We need to learn, technical skills, digital skills, for sure, and more data oriented, set of skills. Yeah. This is but what I say is, for a long time we've been thinking humans as more machine of learning. Like, machine that, okay, you give that and it's integrated into their mind and they can then have these skills available. And this is not like that now. What a lot of psychologists and researchers are showing, and neuroscientists also are showing, that it's not the way the mind is working, is doing. And it's more, you have to bring emotion. You have to bring this soft skills awareness if you want the hard skills to stick. So it's more, okay, how can we have a more complete approach of the human mind and develop in a really meaningful and powerful way the workforce. Right. And to also finish this point, I had an experience with, I've been even myself training on multiple, for sure, areas like, I don't know, marketing or data management and everything. And at a point I realized that if I didn't had this emotion to test out my solution, to confront my ideas with others, to analyze also what was good or bad, it didn't stick at the end. So I think it's we are all the same.
Right. It's really interesting to hear your perspective on that being a balance between hard and soft, because I feel like I've heard, as a bit of an HR outsider, you hear these different perspectives on it. It's like either, I think the traditional model is learn how to code or learn how to do these hard skills. And then recently it's been more like, don't worry, AI is going to take over the world and we won't need to have hard skills. We can just focus on emotional stuff. But it's interesting hearing your balance on that.
Yeah, and I was wondering, because I heard you say, and I think that's a very good point, Hugo. You said, okay, so you've been testing things yourself, but it wouldn't have worked if you didn't ask for feedback, if you didn't question yourself sometimes, and so on. I agree that is super important. However, I think that this is something that doesn't come naturally to a lot of people. So what are your thoughts on how can we as an organization, as HR professionals maybe, and leading the initiative, how can we help people get into this mindset?
Yeah, first is I think adopting working on the awareness again. I think it's key. So thinking of, well, I'm not the one who is supposed to know better than everyone. For example, we've been working a lot with managers. What does managers have? They have this sometimes imposter complex or many other, let's say, challenges on the personal side. And so what they say is, oh, I have to know better than my team. I cannot ask for feedback or ask for help and support. And a lot of them are burning out or, feeling insecure at work. And I really believe that this is changing on a way because we have new examples. More and more leaders are now experiencing coaching themselves or self-development or even psychology. A lot of resources are now available. And there is a new generation of leaders coming. And those guys, even I've seen at the Olympics, some athletes just to say they were not in good shape on the mental side to continue. So it's a new, the environment is really changing very fast on this. And I guess this is helping a lot to give to pave the way, to give the good perspective to that. And in addition, to finish, I think there is also HR professional are really taking this as a challenge and as something they want to improve. Lots of organizations now are really focusing on developing the right mindsets more than only the right skills.
Sure.
Yeah, that's interesting, Joe. Again, here what we're hearing, right? Because what Hugo is saying about managers having this feeling that they need to have all the answers, and I think one of the let's say good things that came out of COVID is that actually we learned that we do not have all the answers, and that we are ready to say, I just don't know. Even managers, I think, becoming more at ease with saying, I don't have the answer, but let's find a solution together.
Yeah. And even I'm just thinking from both sides, from the employee side and the manager side, employees not even expecting their managers to know everything, and managers not knowing that they don't have to know everything. It'd be cool actually, Hugo, to dive a bit further into that manager, talking about the manager and their role, especially in learning and coaching. Often we hear the sense of the manager should be a coach. But what would you say to people who say, oh, this is just a fad, or this is just a new thing that it's a bit fluffy? Or
again, this is a trend. We'll see where it goes. But what I think is, for sure, coaching has a lot to bring. And coaching, I take it as a science. Okay, it could be an art too, but let's say it's a science, and it's a real methodology, method. And so, as it is, I believe a lot of managers, essentially after COVID, where what I was talking, Neelie, what you were mentioning, I call them Superman, superwoman managers. And those types of managers has been really challenged during this COVID situation. They couldn't answer their teams. And so they were looking for answers. And that's the good thing is when you start to be looking for new answers, you're opening. So as a manager coach, what I will say is a manager is not and will and should not be a coach in terms of title, position. But coach and managers have to talk together because I think they have a good things to share. Why? Because the manager of before was more the Superman. He was driving the team's performance, the team's building, and also the development of the business, let's say. But now it's more, how can I support? How can I give my help? How can I be also let's say fragile, or accept my own difficulties and challenges.
Yeah, in that regard, so I was wondering, you mentioned earlier, Hugo, something about the importance of community as well. So I don't know, I guess I'm curious to know, where do you see the role of a community when it comes to coaching in organizations?
I think as human being, we've been for centuries using this community and sharing best practices and doing learning by others. And a lot of studies, the 70-20-10 method is showing that actually we learn by others all the time. What we've been trying to do, and I think performing pretty well, is to launch new, for example, collective coaching approaches within large organizations, where a group of 4 to 6 to 7 people, they could be managers or talents or so on, or women leaders, they could just join on a regular basis in order to share their best practices. It's also facilitated by a coach who is there, because it's hard. Honestly, it's hard to do that in a meaningful way, and everyone is respected. Everyone is around the table with the good energy and so on. So the coach is there to help facilitate, and it's a 1.5 hour session once in a month. And then at each session, there is one of the participants who is the client, and the others are the consultant. And they help each other, and you end up at every time. I've tested myself with the team. It's amazing because every time, even if you're not the client, you get some great learnings and feedbacks.
Oh, that's interesting. An idea of how it can actually work in practice. So that's really cool. Hugo, maybe it's a good time to kind of dive into some of these specific skills that we talk about needing to be upped, in upskilling or reskilled. 2 of them that we hear about, and I get the sense that, it depends a lot on the type of role, and there's white collar, blue collar, all this sort of thing. But a couple of them we talk about a bit as sort of like digital skills and interpersonal skills, and that can be in HR, but in a bunch of other professions. Do you see those as 2 of the big areas that need reskilling and upskilling, or are there others that we should be thinking about?
They are not the only one, for sure. And we are in a complex environment.
Yeah.
Things are moving very fast. The startup scene is just booming right now. So it's creating also a lot of challenges for those large corporates that are our main clients and that we talk with every day. I'm sure those 2 topics are not there only for now. I mean, they will last for at least the next few years. So digital skills, more than ever. We've seen that the companies who invested more have been facing this COVID situation and this hybrid remote working in the best way. So they've been fast to recover, fast to just adapt. Secondly, all of these, more the other skills you mentioned.
Yeah, interpersonal.
Yeah, interpersonal, communication, leadership, and all of that. I believe this is also just the beginning, because it's changed also the way people are just the employee experience at all, and a lot of companies before invested in, I don't know, new tools, new machines, whatever. And now they are investing in their people. And I like this brand, employees first, customers second.
Yeah.
It's an amazing book which just reshaped totally the way you see the business. And a lot of companies now are I think, experiencing it and delivering it in the real life. I think there are also other topics, diversity and inclusion. Big topic, and I'm sure this is just the beginning, and we are on a more global scale. We are moving towards a more diverse and inclusive workspace. I guess there is also this hybrid remote management and work life. Because as it is, I don't think it's broke right now. We haven't broken it. It's there are still things to do in order to really adapt on the long term and to be fully remote for a while. I don't know how the workforce will be in a few years from now. I really question that, and so we need a lot of adaptation. And finally, I'll say it's mixed to the data, but it's mixed to the digital, but it's the data.
Right.
Data management, data scientists, and a lot of, how can we give a new life to all of those useless data that we have stored for years.
And the ability to actually, make use of it and like not just have it sitting there, or especially in HR, that's something Neelie that we've heard a lot talk about, like if, HR people actually starting to use data and what that could look like. It's a
absolutely.
big topic.
Yeah, that is what we've heard that quite a few times, and that data's sometimes stored in different silos within the organization, and then nobody really knows where to find exactly all the data. Hugo, along the same lines, and I think that you may have mentioned quite a few of them already, but since we always like to take our crystal ball and look ahead a little bit, when we talk about 2020 and organizations that are probably trying to get some kind of planning made for next year.
For 2022. So, because you said 2020.
Oh, wow, Jesus.
It's in the past.
I'm so traumatized by 2020 that I just keep saying 2020. 2022, exactly. 2022. Thank you very much, Joe. So what would you say to companies who are really thinking, okay, we need to get on with our upskilling and reskilling strategy for next year. We really need to get started. What would you tell them?
First, I'll tell them that they should think as not as a whole, not like one size fits all. I think it's in the past right now. People need to have an adaptive learning and need to have something different in their pocket. If not, they will honestly go on the internet and do their own business on their side. So first is, try to have as adaptive as you can learning capabilities. Secondly is think about coaching. No, it's just a joke. It's just to say that think about new offerings, which could be for sure mental health, coaching, well-being, and also like mentoring. All of these, I think, is bringing value. You need the core HR, the core learning. You need LMS. You need all of those, core and core HR capacity, but you also might want to think about a more broader offering where people can really think on their own and also in their own context. For example, on those large corporates, what I see oftenly is they have only English all over the world. I like English, it's for sure, but I'm also French, and I know part of my people like to, for example, have a French content or experience having, French coach, and so this is also part of this thinking differently. So I really like this global approach, global but also local. For example, if you're in, you're in India, you're facing a specific challenge at Capgemini or something like that, and you don't want to have like this mainstream English content, which is just not your context. And so it's also about that. If you want people to get into training, they have to get their money back at the end. I mean, at least they have to to be sure that they invested their time in a positive way.
Sure. And that really contextual for the person, personalized almost for that person. And what I'm hearing come through, Hugo, a lot in what you're saying is the sense that you have to provide flexibility for people to kind of drive their own learning, not just telling them, here's what you need to learn and this is where you need new skills. But it's like giving them the freedom to drive that. And like we talked about earlier, kind of, encouraging the hunger to learn as well. One thing I was doing a little bit of stalking on LinkedIn, Hugo, and I was reading your LinkedIn bio. And one thing I found really interesting, kind of relating to this, is how you talk about the sense of giving enough time, like businesses giving enough time to their people and space to experience changes and to maybe learn and engage in new learning. Is that something that companies should be thinking about, is that time element?
Yeah, I think it's one of the key takeaway from our last 6 years of developing MoovOne and what we've been doing is a lot of people of HR professional a few years ago thought, okay, I have 1 week or 2 weeks and they will be here for 2 weeks and I want them to learn maximum and to force them to learn in a way the maximum into those 2 weeks. It's really not working. This is not the way the human mind is actually working. So I believe, we need time and space. And this is why a lot of people like the coaching framework is because it's 1 hour when I decide. This is an important point.
Right.
Is when I decide, I plug in 1 hour into my coach calendar. I'm having this session to unleash my potential, to work on my strength, to define my goals and everything. It's for me. Again, I think it's important. We've been a lot doing groups, collective. Right. The company is all about collective. But it's also a bunch of individuals at the end. And so how can we mix the two? It's another takeaway. But let's stick to the timing perspective. I think we need repetition. It's like in ads. In ads, they say you have to repeat 17 times the same thing, which is annoying sometimes. But let's say it's so. This is the way it's working. So we need to repeat on a regular basis. We need to, and sometimes also, what a coach will say is, when you're not ready, you're just not ready. So leave space, experience yourself. Try, for example, what we've been providing some of our clients with is test out in your personal life. Do something. Do not put you at risk in your professional life. You don't feeling it, but at least try to, I don't know, give feedback to your wife or to your husband first, and then come back in 2-3 weeks when you will be ready to move on the next stage.
Right.
I'm so glad that you mentioned this element, Joe, and that you talked about it, Hugo, because I think this is something that gets still often overlooked. There are so many companies today, and I've seen it myself as well, that continuously encourage their people, like, we have a budget, do not forget, it's for your development, use that budget, please do so. And that's great. But people are often so swamped in their everyday work that, it's great to know that there's a budget available, but they simply can't find the time. So I think there lies a really, really, really big opportunity for many organizations and for HR by extension. I mean, think about maybe you can actually find a way to give people days in a year that they can just use, just like a holiday, but then actually for their development, or, be creative about that. But it's not just saying, hey, use the budget because we have it. And there was one other thing that I was thinking about that because you were talking about it, Hugo, I spoke to a guy recently and he said, actually, we should not just think about learning as something that we have to do because we want to keep our job. We really need to start thinking, and that comes back to the individual element of it, of learning as an investment in ourselves. So yes, there's the collective part and there's the community part, but there's also the part where it really is like investing in yourself, because yes, you will use the knowledge or the skills or whatever for your current job, but you will hopefully also be able to use it further on in life. So great stuff, guys.
So good. Really agree with you, Neelie. And just coming back onto what Hugo was saying there earlier, that I've had so many experiences in companies where you get this block of learning and it's like 2 full days and you walk away with your mind just completely fried. And I love what you're saying, Hugo, in terms of making it more of a recurring thing and more of an ongoing thing.
Yeah. I think, exactly. And to also react on what you've been saying, Neelie, the thing is, you always have time for things that are important to you. So it's also, how can we reverse that feeling of HR pushing and you just pulling back? You know, I think we all like to spend our time into something which is bringing value and effectiveness. So if it's not the case, then we might have to rethink the way and the offering. So, you know, and so this is the same for our brand, as we mentioned earlier. So we all have enough time, at least an hour per week. Yeah. I think everyone have an hour per week if for something which is bringing value. Yeah. And regarding what you also said is, how can we I think a lot of individuals like to learn. We love, it's just that it's not sometimes top priority, but honestly, we always like to learn something. I also think sometimes you need to give the opportunity to learn something different. We need to for example, I'm taking a lot of coaching example just because it's what comes in my mind. But a lot of people say, well, I actually learned directly, but it was a great open-minded discussion, and wow, it give me oxygen and give me a space, and this is enough. Yeah. Into our life, this is 1 hour enough to get new excitement, freshness, and get back to the actual stuff.
Yeah, kind of step outside of your day-to-day role, and even if there's only one or two things you learn, it's just that great moment to refresh as well.
Yeah, perhaps one practical tip, because this guy I just mentioned I talked to, he just said it's really simple. Just block 1 hour a week in your calendar. Just block it. Make sure that no one can actually book any meetings or calls or whatsoever in that hour. That's your 1 hour a week, and stick to that, coming back to the consistency that you said. And I know this sounds super simple, but I also know from experience that it's not that simple. Yeah. But I think, as Hugo said as well, we all have an hour a week somewhere. So just start right now, block that hour, and really religiously stick to that hour, because it's your time. And whether it's like reading up on blogs that you wanted to read because you saw so many interesting things pass on LinkedIn, or whether you want to listen to a podcast, or you want to do a course, or you want to do a coaching session, whatever, but just block hour and start with that, because it's your future that you're investing in.
So good. Great tip, Neelie. I think that's a really good place to start wrapping up, Hugo. And the last question that we always like to ask our guess is, if you were to just boil this all down to maybe one challenge or one tip. Neelie already provided a great tip there, but if you had one challenge or tip to leave our listeners with, what would it be today?
Well, for individuals, it's going to be take it step by step, but take the steps. So it means don't over. I see the value in setting goals, but sometimes, high goals are like just too complex, too high, too uncertain into achieving those. Right. So let's just have small goals, and just easy. Like, for example, the goal that Neelie said is very great. At least I have a goal to learn things 1 hour a week. I have a goal to at least improve my interpersonal skills into doing some small steps. And I think, we should take it, one stage after the other one. And this is the greatest tip I can give to people.
Brilliant tip. Well, this has been fantastic. Sorry, Neelie.
Yeah, maybe a challenge for organizations.
Think different. It's very Apple style, but let's say think different. And the COVID-19, again, not only the environment we are in is aiming to help us reshape, redesign, think different. Let's say we've been doing great in the last few years, but we need to do better and different if we want our life to be more exciting at work, but also in the personal side. So let's stick to that. Do things differently.
Brilliant. That's fantastic. Well, we're going to wrap it up there. Thank you so much, Hugo, for your time and being with us today. Any last words from you, Neelie?
Yes, let's hope we can do all of these in person.
Yes, it's so much better, honestly. It's amazing. No interrupting each other, lags on the computer, so that's good. But before we leave you listeners, we just wanted to remind you that if you have enjoyed this episode, please do feel free to subscribe, share this episode with a friend, and let the world know about it. And we'll see you again next week. Bye.